Hi guys, this is Mike from Coffee Cup Christianity, where we are getting jacked for Jesus together. I'm so glad that you are here today. What we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to actually be starting a countdown series where we are counting down from the top 50 most popular Bible verses. And each week we're going to take a peek at a verse. We'll read the verse, we'll memorize it together. It'll give you something throughout the week to kind of focus on, and I'll tell you a little bit about the verse. And then you can study it on your own. So let's get started. Okay, so the first verse in our countdown, so number 50 for this week, is going to be 2 Timothy 1, chapter 1, verse 7. So 2 Timothy 1, 7. Okay? And so here's the verse. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. Awesome. So before we talk about this verse, first I just want to remind you, if you like these videos, if you want to join me on this journey where we kind of do different things each week, can you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video, whatever you want to do. But I just want to, I want to keep doing this together, and I want to keep making these videos, and so I just need a little bit of help from you. This was the last book of the Bible that Paul wrote. He wrote it to Timothy. This book is kind of like a passing of the torch, where he's going to basically give the church leadership to a younger, more inexperienced Timothy, who was kind of like his student at the time. And so 2 Timothy 1, 7 shows up in a part of the book where Paul is telling Timothy what qualities it takes to be an effective minister of Jesus, an effective leader in the church, effective leader in the world. And so that's what he's outlining here. So let me remind you a little bit of who Paul was, okay? In the early days of the church, right after Jesus died, a lot of the disciples were getting arrested and stoned and, killed and executed and all that stuff. And Paul's job was to be the guy to go and arrest those people, okay? And he actually oversaw the arrest, jail, and possible execution of a lot of early Christians. And so while Paul may not have pulled the trigger, so to speak, he was responsible for the murder of a lot of early Christians. So he wasn't necessarily like a great dude in the beginning of his life, okay? And so it's important to know, and if you ever wonder about this, it's in the Bible. Paul refers to himself in the book of Philippians as like the worst of all sinners, okay? Like he acknowledges that he is a terrible person without Jesus, okay? And so he's writing this book about what it takes to be a great leader, and obviously Paul is one of the greatest leaders in the Bible. And so he's writing this letter, and the authority that he has is the authority because Jesus has changed his life. And now he's new. He's not the Paul. He's not Saul, okay, the guy he used to be. Now he's Paul, a much different person, a great leader. He wrote almost half the Bible. We consider him to be one of the greatest Christian leaders in all the Bible and in all the world and all of history. And so Timothy was getting a lot of pushback from the early church leaders because they loved Paul, they listened to Paul, they knew Paul, right? They knew Paul's story. They knew what Paul had done. They knew where he had come from, who he was before, and who he is now. With Timothy, he was young and inexperienced, and I think we all know that. At least I don't really look young anymore. I feel young, I suppose. But when I was younger, and I was a young, brand new attorney, I had a lot of clients who kind of like, they would get me as their lawyer, and they would ask for like the real lawyer, they assumed that I must be just the paralegal. Because I can't possibly know enough or have enough experience to win their case. Obviously, I'm probably the world's greatest attorney, and so I won all of my cases. Just kidding, no, I don't win all of my cases. But it's important to know that, Timothy was this young guy, right? And it's our initial reaction is to look at that and say, you don't know what you're doing. You don't have the characteristics or the qualities that are needed to be a good leader. And so we're going to read this verse again so that you can meditate on it and take it with you. But I want to read it one more time so that you can kind of hear the whole verse now that we're looking for certain things. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. See, timidity sounds a lot like intimidate, okay? They come from the same word, Greek, Latin, I don't know, but they come from the same word, right? Timid, okay? And to be timid means to have been intimidated, okay? So if someone intimidates you, they make you timid. They put fear in you, and when you are afraid, you act in a fearful way, a timid way. And if we are timid, we can't do what God wants us to do, okay? God is a God of power, not of timidity, right? In fact, in the job description, when God's hiring Christians, okay, in his job description, it says power required. Paul says God gave us a spirit of three things. A spirit of what? Love, power, self-discipline. Those are the three characteristics that we need to continue to project as Christians. So let's take the last one first. Let's take self-discipline first. Self-discipline is a fancy way of saying self-control, okay? Self-control. What does your life look like? Look at your life and the things you do and the activities you do and tell me, is it self-control? And I think the easiest way to say whether or not you have godly self-control is, do you control the activity or does the activity control you? Now look, it doesn't mean that you can't have fun as a Christian. You may not know this, but Jesus' first miracle was making a party more turned up, okay? I mean, they were at the wedding, and Jesus' mother was like, hey, Jesus, we're out of wine. And Jesus is like, okay, don't worry, I got you, boom, boom. And they filled the wine back up, okay? And so it doesn't mean that as a Christian you have to be boring, you can't have any fun. No, self-control just means that when you have fun, it doesn't overtake you, okay? Anything that we can't control, that controls us, becomes a problem in our life. Anything, whether it's video games, whether it's even reading books. I mean, you can get lost in a book and forget that you have kids or you're cooking something on the stove. And so, that's what you need to be looking out for. Self-control. Are you controlling your activities or are your activities controlling you? So number 2 is love. Okay, this is not romantic love. This is unconditional love. Okay, I didn't really understand this until I had kids, and you kind of have that moment where your kids do something stupid, they break something, you get mad at them, and you're mad at them, right? Like really mad at them. But after like an hour, you acknowledge, okay, I still love you, don't worry. That's because we love them unconditionally. Can you imagine if we loved each other the way that we love our children and our parents? Could you imagine if we loved people in the world? I mean, just think about what's going on in the world around us today. If we loved people the way that Jesus wants us to love people, where that's unconditional love, like, hey, I might be mad at you, but I love you. And when you come to someone from a position of love, it really changes the dynamic. And so the number 3 quality, but it was the first one listed, was power. Okay, when I say power, I don't mean superpowers. Okay, I don't mean like magic or anything like that. What I'm talking about with power is boldness, courage. Okay, are you bold? Are you courageous? Right? Not timid. Okay, we already talked about that, but boldness, courage. Are you going out there? Are you getting it? Are you getting jacked for Jesus? Are you telling people that you're jacked for Jesus? Whatever you do in life, whether it doesn't have to be spiritual, right? It could be the work you do with your job. Are you bold and courageous in the work you do? Or are you timid? I mean, if you're timid, you'll get run over in your job. But if you're bold and courageous, not prideful or boastful, okay, that's what I struggle with that. But I'm talking about bold and courageous. So I want to give you the verse one more time. This is the last time. I'm going to read the verse. We're going to end on that. And I want you to take the verse, take the week, and I want you to meditate on this verse. And I want you to keep asking yourself, am I doing these 3 things? Am I acting in these 3 ways? Okay, so I'm going to read it one more time, and we'll be done, and you take that with you. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline.